Spain were the only team capable of ending Italy's 37-game unbeaten streak, and bloody Zuckerberg was the only one capable of ending our 69-episode streak. It's been a terrible week for football all round, but here we are again, ready to go. Welcome to the Anglo-Italian pod. As always, I am Rory, and I'm joined by my good friend
Tommy, and I loved how you underlined that it was episode 69. We did have a chuckle. We did have a chuckle at that one. LOL. Welcome, everybody. We are sponsored by at Sports Club Maps. Go check out their Instagram profile, their Twitter profile, and maybe their website, because that's where you can cop maps for your house, for your mugs, for your mouse pads, and so on. We haven't received ours yet, but it's going to happen very, very soon. Rory Criscuolo, how are you doing today?
I am good. Yeah, the whole joke about the 69, obviously working with teenagers and them being like 13, 14, it is a joke that I hear roughly 200 times a day. So when we did do it, I was like, oh God, I can't get away from this bloody joke. But apart from that, I'm good. How did you survive the technology disappearance, Tommy? How did you handle it? How long before you were huddled in the corner crying?
So last night I was at dinner at Rory's house. It was a very nice dinner with Rory and his lady. She cooked the calamarata, which was incredible.
It really was. Oh, she's a legend.
I told you the story about the blackout, how I found out. I was driving, it was pouring rain in Milan, real legit thunderstorm. And I felt like the fat guy, and I remember his name from Jurassic Park. You know, when he's driving right before he dies.
I do, yes. Yeah.
He's driving the Jeep with his face very close to the windshield, and it's pouring rain. He can't see anything. And then I see thunder. And then it's Rory calling me and telling me, Tommy, we can't go live on StreamYard. It's not working. And I was like, wait, why didn't you text me? And he's like, WhatsApp is not working. Nothing is working. And I was like, holy shit, like, this feels like the apocalypse.
The world's ended.
The world's ending. And then I got back home and I tried to turn on the internet to see if it was working, because there was literally a thunderstorm going on. And the YouTube wheel on my TV was very, very slow. And when YouTube finally came on, it was all written in Japanese for some reason. And so it was just like, I was like, all right, the end is near. Somebody's going to show up on the screen with a mask like V for Vendetta.
A girl with really long hair. Staring at the screen.
Or something like that. But I did survive. I actually, that after the blackout happened, I have checked the social media way, way less. It's something that I've noticed. Yeah. You use Twitter a lot, so you didn't really
the funny thing was, Twitter is always going to be there. Nothing will ever take Twitter down, and it was so good because Twitter, even then, their official account just tweeted "Hello," literally everybody. And
I saw that.
All the memes were just like how the world is ended, and Twitter has just stood strong. Nothing will take it down. So I kind of survived quite easily. The only thing was, obviously WhatsApp not working. But then the really depressing thing is WhatsApp finally working again in the morning and realizing the only message is like from your dad. You're like, okay, so no one really noticed that my WhatsApp wasn't working. Cool. Okay, nice.
Can't say that I had more messages than you did. But what are we going to discuss in this episode? We've got, of course, a very quick Nations League review to check out last night's game, Italy against Spain. We are then going to talk about the rest of the international break fixtures. Newcastle United. I know that Roy is very excited about this one being takeover.
The richest club in the world.
All right.
Club in the world.
Being taken over by Saudi Arabia, pretty much. We're then going to discuss the situation in both Serie A and the Premier League, 1/5 through the season. And then in the weekly topic, I'm going to highlight 3 players that you should keep an eye on in Serie A. Now, Rory, this is pretty funny. I didn't remember that it was just like 3 youngsters in Serie A that people maybe are not so familiar with. So I went for 3 Italian youngsters in Serie A because I thought that they had to be from the country. I don't know.
Such a nationalist. It seems like such an Italian thing to do.
It's overwhelming. Let's jump to the Euroreview.
And it's time for the Euro review. And Tommy, I am so sorry, but we have to start off with the bad news. a 37-game unbeaten streak is finally ending, and I would be lying if I said I didn't smile a little bit when I saw that Italy lost. Finally, some of the smugness that I've had to tolerate over the last few weeks/months can finally disappear a little bit. Tommy, what happened? What happened?
Look, getting to 40 would have been cool, but I was starting to, what do you call it? The syndrome of the people that the imposter syndrome. The people that like they think they're not good enough for their job.
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
people who have this strong insecurity that they're like they do an incredible interview, they get hired, but then they suffer from this syndrome because they say, I don't think I'm qualified enough to like have that title. And I was starting to feel like Italy maybe had gotten a tad lucky with a few things. Even upon reviewing what happened in the Euros, like, we drew against Spain, we drew against England, we were about to go down against Austria. There was the fair share of luck that is needed always in football to achieve big things. Now it finally came to the end. I didn't watch the game last night because we were having dinner at Ruairi's house. I did watch the highlights, and in the first half, easily looked like they were in absolute shambles. But also, the fact that we were not watching the game tells you how much people don't care about the Nations League. Before addressing Italy, tell me.
If Italy had made the final, you would have cared about the Nations League.
I would have watched it, but I wouldn't have like celebrated like the Euros, not even close. Like I would have just be like, "Yup, that's super cool."
Yeah, well, of course.
So that kind of says something about like this thing that UEFA has, that they want to just like keep the week busy with competitions in and out. I think it's getting a little too much. Tell me.
No, but I do feel like the Nations League isn't necessarily for the teams at the top.
True.
That's not the purpose of it. I feel like it benefits the lower ranked nations, and for that, I value it. I think. But yeah, you're right. It will never, ever have the prestige of a World Cup, of a Euros. It just won't even get close. And that's fine. But I think for the lower nations, it's a really, really valuable lower ranked nations, a really valuable competition.
Look, and what I'm saying is more about the international breaks in general. It's not about the Nations League. The Nations League, in the end, rather than doing scrimmages, friendly games, all right, you have a competition with a cup in the end. The teams are more motivated to play it. But it also increases maybe the risk of injury and stuff like that. It's about the international break that maybe there are too many, but we will discuss that later. About Italy in the first half looked in shambles. Spain were all over the pitch. We didn't look solid defensively, which is the worrying thing. It's not that we lost. It's that defensive solidity was just like, And we still have to qualify for the World Cup. So let this be a slip. About Bonucci, man, Bonucci is a guy that gets carried away, but when you are so mouthy about your career, about the way you play football and everything, and you are the oldest probably in the squad, and you're like, you should set the example, getting 2 yellows in the matter of 35 minutes is definitely not the example. And the first one, you just don't chase the referee all the way down the pitch, like yelling at them. It's just like, it's not what you do. So that was a little disappointing. We know about Bonucci. He's not the greatest character in world Football. But in this, the only player that really stood out to me was Chiesa. Chiesa is all over the place all the time.
As always,
all of the best opportunities came from him. We played with a falso nueve, with Bernardeschi being the nueve, which is something that Allegri tried in Juventus's last game, and everybody were making memes about him and everything. But then Mancini is like, why not? He had a pretty good shot at some point on the near post. Good save by the Spanish keeper. But besides Chiesa and this opportunity by Bernardeschi, we didn't do much. Insigne missed an open goal shot in the first half.
I did see that, yeah.
Which was quite ridiculous. I mean, and San Siro is starting to feel like maybe is not the best ground for Italy to play at. You were there, right? In 2017?
I was indeed there. It is starting to feel like Italy have got a bit of a curse in that stadium, and maybe they need to start moving to the Stadio Olimpico or, I don't know, anywhere else really. But we have to give Spain their credit, and one player that really stood out, and not just because his age made me want to vomit in my mouth, but Gavi for Spain. The guy is 17 years old. So quick maths, born in 2004. Oh my God. Makes his debut for Spain.
Could be your son.
Sorry?
He could be your son, right?
Technically. Yeah, I suppose so. Oh, God. Yeah, I suppose he could. Literally half my age. Anyway, he made his debut for Spain. And Luis Enrique said he is the present and future of the national team. And he's playing out there like he's playing in his back garden. He's obviously made 8 appearances for Barcelona so far. In La Liga, they haven't lost a game that he has played in. No, they lost one game that he's played in, which was Atleti last weekend. The others, they've either won or drawn. And he seems like him alongside Pedri and the other kind of youngsters that are appearing there are like the real bright spot for Barcelona. But what a player he was, and and the story as well is that his idol growing up was, Tommy?
It was probably Xavi or Iniesta or one of the two, no?
Marco Verratti.
His idol growing up. Wow, that sounds
so he's
wrong.
Still growing up. He's fucking 17.
Oh my God. So you're telling me that this guy has literally grown up as a kid seeing Marco Verratti perform. Yeah. Holy shit. Like that.
Yeah. And he played against Verratti and absolutely ran the show. Sorry, Rory, I have to say it because we're like trying to make people understand how young he is. Indeed, he was born after the 9/11 attacks, right? So 3 years after, to be precise. Just to confirm, he would not remember it. Yeah,
this guy is very young. And he played with Verratti, and I was reading, the Spanish media are all over him. They said playing with that personality is something we've never seen in the Spanish national team at that age.
They had Cesc Fabregas, and they're saying they've never seen it.
Well, we'll find out if it's a hype or not, but definitely a beautiful story. And again, this is not to toot my own horn because I live in Milan. San Siro is the stadium of the team that I support. But I mean, doing performing so well in such a stadium and winning the game for your team against the champions of Europe after they had defeated your national team at the Euros. Well, I mean, at 18 years old, what's better than that?
Honestly, I can't even imagine it. There's no realm that I could imagine what the hell that feels like. But yeah, he's just a player that I think we're going to hear a lot about. Hopefully Barcelona get a proper manager and he can be developed and managed by someone who knows what they're doing. Because I feel like we know La Masia at Barcelona is incredible and they produce all these players. It seems like they're finally going to get an opportunity. And maybe most of the team will be made up of these players. So I really hope that they get the manager they need. But a real bright spark for Spain. And yeah, maybe the nexus of their next team is there alongside Ansu Fati and players like that when they finally come back.
They have a very young team, Spain. So I feel like Spain, there was that decade in Spanish sports where they just won everything at any sport. It was motorcycle, it was cycling, it was
F1, tennis.
Yeah, Alonso in the Formula One, tennis. It was football. They won like that treble, which is still unprecedented.
Didn't their basketball team win?
They might have.
They
won
maybe win the
Olympic,
not the Olympics, or maybe they won a big tournament. Basketball is not my specialty, but I'm pretty sure
they might have won the Euros, maybe the World Cup. I have no idea, but still, they had that decade, which was unprecedented in Spanish sports. Like my dad, growing up, he said that Spain never really accounted for much in international competitions.
Yeah.
But now, like they've had that, then of course there is a down after such a generation, but then they've developed the tools probably to develop such players. And so they might just have to be a little patient. Their World Cup qualification is on the line, as Alvaro Romeo from the Totally Football show was highlighting in the latest episode. We shall see if definitely they can, if they can get access to the World Cup before the end of the group stage. That would be great. Otherwise, they will probably have to play against Sweden in a playoff that also Italy played and didn't win 4 years ago. But yeah, credit to Spain. One thing that is definitely worth thinking about is if Italy need 2 new center backs.
I was going to ask you this question, Tommy. Chiellini and Bonucci. Is it time for Bastoni and Acerbi?
Yeah, Bastoni hasn't performed greatly last night, though, and I read an article today that was just saying that he doesn't. Baresi, I mean, Italy's greatest defender of all time, was saying that
he might know a thing or two.
He might know a thing or two. He was saying that he has the utmost respect for Bastoni, but he just doesn't. He feels like it's a new generation of center backs that don't like to risk the tackle. And it's like sometimes you just have to have the guts to go there, do the tackle, get the ball, and restart the play, which is what Baresi did his entire career. If there was something that Baresi did all the time, was that the slide tackle, get up with the ball in the middle of your feet, and set up play again. So he was just saying,
I think that might be aesthetically the most pleasing move in football.
Oh, yeah.
Seeing someone slide, get the ball, stand up, and then pass it, you're like, oh, that looks fucking cool. That looks really cool.
And he was making a comparison between the Cannavaro and Barzagli, maybe, and then Bonucci and Chiellini that had still the same mindset, but risked the tackle way less. And it was like, these youngsters, some of them are very good, including Bastoni, but they need to be they need to grow a little personality. Because if you can do it, and you can just achieve big things. And we know how Italians care about the defense, as we've covered in pretty much
very true. Very
69 episodes. But the other thing that I wanted to discuss is a question actually from our friend Joe Spagnoli, friend of the pod. He said that he didn't appreciate the AC Milan fans at the San Siro booing Gianluca Donnarumma throughout the entire game. Now, Rory, what do you think? I will go after you, and I will tell you my opinion.
I think it's absolutely fair. I think it's honestly absolutely fair. I think, obviously, for the national team, maybe you might want to dampen it a little bit, but I think the way he sold himself as a Milan fan, Milan born and bred, and then kind of sodded off, not necessarily for the money, but just sodded off on a free at the kind of first opportunity, I'm really not surprised that they're going to boo him or that they booed him. I think, why wouldn't you? I think in England, if, for example, I don't know, Wayne Rooney had gone from United to City and then they play at Old Trafford, you bet Rooney would have been booed every second he touched the ball. Like, I don't think of course that would have happened. So I think, yeah, it's not a massive surprise.
And, well, my point, I agree with you. It's not a surprise. I would have been surprised of the opposite. And, I mean, this is the first opportunity that you have to tell Donnarumma what you think about him after that move. AC Milan fans have made it very clear. And, again, Joe, this doesn't mean that they don't care about the national team. I read a post which was very grammatically unpleasing by an AC Milan supporter. I managed to understand what it said. It was in Italian, of course. And the message was basically, look, we do not care like what shirt you are wearing. You can be wearing the shirt of the national team that we support, but the man behind the shirt does not change. And if this is the stadium that you played in, this is the stadium that gave you your first opportunity to play football, and then you betray that football team, that culture, that stadium, even if you're playing for the national team in this occasion, going to you the entire game. Expect it to happen. It's part of football banter. And look, yes, it's part of football banter. The fact that we are moving the right steps towards abolishing racism from the stands and awful things from the stands, it doesn't mean that there can't be banter when supporters who are at the core of football feel betrayed by a player for his behavior. I think it's just fair. It makes sense. It's not a big deal. Donnarumma almost had a howler. It didn't look like he was there.
That was mentally a scary moment. We said it last episode. He needs regular football like most goalkeepers. He needs regular football. And if he's not going to get it, those mistakes are going to come in more often when he does play.
And look, you're going to play. This is your first season in the Champions League. Dude, you're going to be playing in the middle of hell at Galatasaray in Turkey. You're going to be playing in the toughest stadiums. I'm sure you can cope with 90 minutes of your former supporters calling you a piece of shit. It's just like part of the game. Cope with it. You get paid millions. And then these AC Milan fans was just like, dude, look, if it causes you psychological damage, if you can't stand it, maybe next time make a different decision. And if you really can't, all right, we are hiring at my factory and you can work in the assembly line, 1,500 euros a month. And I can guarantee you that nobody is going to you really, really appreciated that.
That's fucking great. That is great. That's great.
All right. So, Rory, what are the upcoming fixtures that we have, both in the Nations League and in the World Cup qualifiers for the next week and a half, pretty much?
Well, tonight, of course, we do have France versus Belgium at 8:15. That is 8:45 even. Sorry, that is tonight as in Thursday night, not tonight as in you are listening to it. So you will know. I know I made that as confusing as possible. You will know the result. We do not. I'm going to focus on the home nations for now. England. Two games that aren't particularly exciting, but Andorra away on Saturday at 20:45 and Hungary at home on Tuesday at 20:45. Two games that England should really be coming out of with 6 points. There's a few players that maybe could get their starts. There's rumours that Aaron Ramsdale might get his first cap for England as he's been called back into the squad. People like Fikayo Tomori. Finally, Tommy, we were talking about it. He should be in the England squad. Well, now he's in it, so it could be good to see him get his debut. I think it would be his debut. So I think it'll be interesting to see what squad is used, but two games there that England should be coming out of quite comfortably. Then we have to move to Ireland. At this point, we're only playing for pride, but the boys in green are playing Azerbaijan away on Saturday at 6:00. Qualification is basically not a possibility now. So this is just about Stephen Kenny being able to get these systems in, get the philosophy set, get the squad he wants with, as we said, some good young players. So hopefully we can get a result there. And we have a friendly against Qatar at home on Tuesday at 20:45. So that'll be an interesting one. If Ireland can't beat Qatar, I genuinely might pull my hair out. From Ireland, we're going to go north of the border to Scotland. They have a really interesting game. Israel at home on Saturday at 6:00. Scotland are only 1 point ahead of Israel and are currently in the playoff spot. So if they win this, they could give themselves a 4-point cushion and maybe be on the way to securing themselves a playoff spot for the World Cup, which would be quite exciting. They then follow that up with Faroe Islands away on Tuesday, again at 20:45. Then finally, to wrap up the home nations, we have Wales. They are playing the Czech Republic away on Friday at 8:45, 20:45. Both these teams are level on points, on 9 points. They're both way off Belgium in first. So it's just about these two teams trying to secure the playoff spot as well. Then they finish with Estonia away on Monday, again at 20:45. So all the home nations got some intriguing games trying to head into the Qatar World Cup.
Interesting. I just want to say one thing for the supporters of the Azzurri. You might want to keep an eye on we were talking about this, how much we dislike this nation and how much this nation doesn't get enough stick. You might want to keep an eye on Switzerland.
We need to contextualize that. We need to contextualize it. Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like we were just eating, and at a point somebody just looked up and was like, I hate Switzerland. And I was like, hey, wait, me too. No, it wasn't like that. But keep an eye on Switzerland because they are playing both Northern Ireland on Saturday and Lithuania on Tuesday. If they win both games, they will be on even points with Italy for the World Cup qualifiers, which means that the game that we have scheduled for November 12th, Italy-Switzerland, could be extremely interesting. So fuck Switzerland and go Northern Ireland and Lithuania.
I don't think we have any listeners in Switzerland. I don't think we have any listeners in Switzerland, so it's fine.
Definitely not my ex-girlfriend. Woo!
No. But also that's why you hate the country. No, but also
maybe. Who knows?
It did depress me a little bit when I was like, there's another international break in November. For God's sake. I was like, really? It's not even a month.
This is possibly the moment where we can discuss about how many international breaks there are. Look.
What is going on?
What is going on? And especially on Saturday, I'm very worried. Like next Saturday, Inter are going to play Lazio. Oof. And the South Americans on international duty, they get back on Friday night.
Well, I've got bad news for you. Martinez has been injured.
Yeah, I know. I read that, but I read that, but it's just like that is actually a bit of good news that probably will come back and maybe we can recover him in Milan before the game against Lazio. but there are plenty of other players that play in Serie A, and that is just not fair for the clubs. Like like one game can change the entire season, and I feel like there is this competition between club and country, like who matters the most. Like, of course, club thinks they matter most and country thinks they matter most. But I think there should be more of an honest line of discussion to make sure that the international breaks are more well thought, they're better planned. Maybe take an entire month off. To play all these qualification games, and then for the rest of the season you just play club football, something like that. Because otherwise, the risk for many clubs is to simply not be good enough at the right time.
Well, we had the whole thing with the police parading the Brazilian players off the pitch, or the Argentinian players off in Brazil. You know what I mean? It's all become a bit of a farce, and this battle between, you're right, governing, like national governing bodies and leagues, and especially since the whole Super League thing, it has, like, the thing is kind of ramped up a little bit, and there does seem to be a bit more competition. But obviously, this is also because you've got to cram everything in, because FIFA decided to host a World Cup in the winter over Christmas in Qatar. So they've had to squeeze everything in a tighter period, when they would have had another 6 months potentially to have more qualifiers if they'd have stuck to a Summer World Cup. So this all leads to the Qatar thing as well. Funnily enough, we're going to be talking about this kind of thing in roughly 30 seconds when we move to the Premier League, but Qatar has all the problems.
Just like one more thing that I wanted to add. Oh, fuck, I don't remember it now. About the international breaks. What was it
Listen, honestly, we do prepare for these lessons, these episodes, I swear.
Oh my God. The proposition by Arsene Wenger to play the World Cup every 2 years. As cool as it sounds on paper, I read a very good article by Rivista Contrasti that said, isn't it kind of funny that this man is so worried about the future of football, and he's 74 years old? He was just like, in his speech, he was just like, the future of football is in danger, like we need to change something, etc., etc. The man is an old man. The future does not belong to you. Like, you should probably have a team of younger people work with you to really maybe understand what is the direction needed for the future. Was I a little too harsh on your former manager?
I am going to take most things said about Arsene Wenger fairly personally. I think Arsene Wenger is definitely the type. Now, I have to clear this decision. I definitely disagree with him on. I think a World Cup every 2 years, one, sounds terrible, and B, two, is a terrible idea. Everything about it is a terrible idea. But I think Arsene Wenger is definitely the type of man who, he has the best interests of football. Like, he definitely cares about what the future of football is. And I think he definitely, like, what's that? I'm going to sound so arsey now, like so poncy, but you know, the Greek saying about a man who plants a tree but knows that he'll never appreciate the shade. Like, that's how you build a society, right?
Whoa.
I definitely butchered that quote, but it's like a society is built by people who plant trees knowing they'll never sit in the shade of it or whatever. I feel like Arsene Wenger is definitely that type of man. As ham-fisted, Christ, as that was, I feel like that's kind of the type of person he is. But again, I idolize the man, so feel free to disagree with me.
Bro, since I feel like you're heating up, I feel like this is the right moment to talk about the biggest headline in Premier League football. Ladies and gentlemen, we bring to you the new Chelsea, the new PSG, the new Manchester City. Please stand up for Newcastle United. How excited are you, Rory, about the Saudi Arabian takeover of Newcastle United? I know you can't wait to talk about it.
More bloody competition for Arsenal. We're never going to get in the Champions League at this rate. It's never going to happen again, ever. Just fuck off. Stop giving teams loads of money. Okay, where do we start with this? So I'm going to start with Newcastle fans, right? Let's start with the Newcastle fans, then we can go to the real dark shit. Look, I think
I'm ready.
For Newcastle fans, this is fantastic news, right? They have been owned by an owner who has mismanaged, underinvested in that club for 14 years. The stadium is falling apart. The training ground is falling apart. The squad is falling apart. The manager's useless. Like, the squad, for them, the past 14 years has just been about staying in the Premier League, and they've not always been successful. When Mike Ashley took over, this was a team who had fairly consistently been in Europe. They were one of the top 4 teams in England when I was growing up. Like, the decline in Newcastle has been sharp. For them, it's great news that there is investment in the club. There will be direction, and this city that deserves a great football team. Like, the support base is incredible. Newcastle are a team I've always liked, and I think they deserve better. I love a one-team city, like when the whole city is around one thing. Like, I really love it, and I think it's great for Newcastle. It'd be good to see them competitive again. It'll be interesting to see how they're going to spend money, because they're not going to, if they hold up the FFP laws, which let's see, but if they do, it'll be much harder for them to spend than it was for City. They won't just be able to throw money at the wall. It will be like, right, we've got to do this gradually. So it'll be interesting to see how that happens, how long Steve Bruce lasts.
Why would they enforce FFP only on Newcastle?
Well, we're going to talk about how the attitude has been different towards Newcastle.
Right, let's go. Sorry for interrupting. You were on a roll.
No.
Keep
but
going.
You're absolutely. It's a good point you bring up. And the thing is, people are treating Newcastle differently with it. Now, this takeover has been in the works for around 18 months. So it was meant to happen, a year and a half ago. And the Premier League were found guilty of this. Other Premier League teams lobbied the Premier League to block the move because they didn't want another team to compete against them. So they haven't named which teams they are, but we can all guess which teams they are. And I suspect Arsenal's definitely one of them, that turned around to the Premier League and said, do not let another team have lots of money. We are the teams with lots of money, right? This went to court, and it was found that the Premier League acted improperly. There was also a piracy issue with beIN Sports that has now been solved, which means the move can go on. But Newcastle are being treated differently with it, because I think people are now expecting Newcastle fans to stand up and talk out against these people who are buying the club. Now, we'll get into the details about them in a minute. And that's fair. Newcastle fans should, but all football fans should. Man City should stand up against their owners. Chelsea should stand up against their owners. PSG should stand up against their owners. I don't think all the focus should be put on Newcastle. And Newcastle fans shouldn't be judged for celebrating their club being bought out by these people, when City and Chelsea have been consistently celebrating trophies that have been won by criminal people who are accused of pretty horrific crimes. So I think we need to all take a step back and realize that maybe we're all being hypocritical about it. And if we're not going to be hypocritical about it, then we need to judge all the teams as one thing and not just say Newcastle are the one that are doing it.
100% agreed, Rory. And I forwarded the news to Michael with that graph that you should discuss briefly about how much money Newcastle United are going to get from this deal. And I sent it to Michael, and as I had predicted, Michael texted back, fuck those guys, they should have come to Appiano. Appiano is the Inter training ground, of course. So you see,
mate, there's still rumors. There's still rumors for Inter. There are still rumors.
I hope that, I mean, you see, this is the funny thing. This is the funny thing, and I am guilty of it. I'm the first person to be guilty of it. If a Saudi Arabian fund were to come and purchase Inter Milan, immediately I would think of all the great players that we would get and how incredible of a spell it would be. That would be my first reaction immediately. Then, upon maybe looking up on Wikipedia who these people are, what businesses they're involved in, what trials they have to stand in front of international courts, maybe I would rethink it a little bit. But then I would look around myself and I would see Manchester City, PSG, Chelsea, Newcastle United, and I would be like, you know what? It's like, yeah, I don't know how to put it. It's like, it's never happened to me, but like, I don't know, you're at a fruit market, whatever, and you kind of see that everybody's just like stealing one orange. Yeah. You know, everybody's purchasing food, but like stealing one orange. Then you're just like, I'm not gonna fucking pay for the orange. I'm gonna steal it as well, and then I'm just gonna walk away. Never happened to me, by the way. I don't know why the fruit market came to mind.
Yeah. Well, I think so. Let's talk about who these people are, right? So they've been bought out by Mohammed bin Salman, who is the head of state of Saudi Arabia. Now, the initial issue was that the Premier League said that they did not want an actual state owning a Premier League club. So what he's done is he has set up a company called PIF, and he is the head of that instead. Now, apparently, this means that Saudi Arabia doesn't own the club. Apparently. Now, what has this guy done that's made him so controversial? Well, apart from the massive human rights infractions that happen within his country with LGBT, freedom of expression, arresting of journalists, women's rights, like the list could go on. He was also accused of ordering the killing of Khashoggi, the journalist who was killed, I believe, 2 years ago. It is widely believed that it was him who kind of ordered that to happen. So, obviously, this guy and these states are not pleasant people, and they are not people we want in our sport. But within the Premier League, we also have Sheikh Mansour, where there are stories of fake trials and torture within the UAE. And then we have Abramovich, who, now this one's a bit more complicated. Do you remember the Russian guy who was poisoned in London with Novichok?
With the umbrella, with the tip of the umbrella?
I think this was the guy with the T. I think this was the T, and it was the guys in Salisbury Cathedral.
By the way, props to KGB for always coming up with the coolest ways to kill people.
They proper go like James Bond with it. They really go James Bond with it.
Really dope. Keep it up, guys. Keep it up.
So Navalny, the guy, he's now recovered, and he has named Abramovich and Usmanov, who was originally a minor shareholder in Arsenal, but now owns or sponsors the training ground for Everton and is believed to kind of want to put money into that club. He's accused both of them of being major players in the Russian government and of kleptocracy. They are both incredibly close to Putin. So both of these owners are kind of not the greatest either, right? So I think what the bigger problem isn't that Bin Salman is coming into the club. This has been happening for 15, 20 years now. The problem is the Premier League let them in when Abramovich came in and let them in when Sheikh Mansour came in. So what can we do? Not a lot, really. We can protest. We can make our thoughts heard that we do not want these people in our sport. But frankly, unfortunately, and depressingly, like the horse has bolted. This is gone. Like the sport.
These people are running the sport. Where is the next World Cup going to be? This is the present and the future of football. And right now it's too late. And it's also wrong to say Newcastle fans who shouldn't celebrate. This is an abomination because it's been an abomination for the past years. Yeah. We've allowed it to happen. We've basically set the standard for the future of football. Right now, it's a little too late to judge these people. You've allowed them in. You've let them do all the shit that they wanted to do. You've let them create the reality that PSG is now. Like, what are you surprised about? It just like, even this morning when you sent me the link, you were just like, this is massive. This is incredible. You didn't say, can't believe it, but that was the tone. It was just like very, very believable, very standard.
It's like, look here's another one, right?
Here's another one.
Today, Amnesty International have kind of approached the Premier League and said, you need to review and change your test for fit and proper owners, which honestly, the fit and proper owners test, I think, has been regarded as a bit of a joke for a while. But Amnesty International has approached them and said, you need to change this. Like, you cannot have people who have open accusations of human rights violations against them investing money into your organization. Like, if this was tennis or the Olympics or anything else, people would be asking serious questions. So why are we not asking serious questions of football? I think it's absolutely a fair point. But then that being said, the previous owner of Newcastle wasn't exactly clean either. And if you can tell me a billionaire who's become a billionaire by not fucking someone over, I think they're lying. Like Mike Ashley, his company Sports Direct, they have a horrific record with 0-hour contracts. Their working conditions were terrible. There was always stories about like pregnant workers just being forced to continue working, not allowed toilet breaks. There were some of the stories about his organization were terrible as well. So I think any billionaire, and without getting in like away from sport and into politics, any billionaire has fucked people over at some point, right? There's just degrees of it. So I think, what's my point? I don't know. I think I don't want Newcastle fans.
Welcome to my life, dude.
I don't want. Newcastle fans should still be allowed to celebrate this because City and Chelsea have been celebrating it for years. But I think we need will all football fans to, and this is where I'm not holding my breath about it. It would take all football fans to turn around and say, we are not happy with these people in our sport. I just don't know if that's going to happen.
I don't know either, man. And to every listener who feels indignated by this, ask yourself, are you going to watch the 2022 World Cup? Yes, you are. So shut up. No, I mean, I'm not saying shut up in an aggressive way. I'm just saying I'm going to be one of those people, and I think that is an abomination. The World Cup in Qatar, a country with zero football culture, where money is the real god. And I'm not afraid to say that.
And the people who built the stadiums have their passports taken off them, so they can't leave, and it's slave labor, and they're dying.
And this is one thing that I wanted also to say. I've been wanting to say this for a long time because this happened, and it wasn't. Well, of course, it wasn't in the news. Why would it? But it's something that really triggered me. One of my favorite football players of all time, my favorite goalkeeper of all time, is Julio Cesar. He works for FIFA, of course. He's an ambassador and everything. And of course, I've seen him along with many other players in all of those commercials about equal rights, equal game, we're all equal, blah, blah, blah. It's all those commercials.
Yeah.
Then seeing him in a delegation alongside, there was Xavi, I seem to remember, and a few other players walking in with the emirs inside these beautiful stadiums, looking at them and pointing at how cool, look how cool this is, look how cool the seating is, look at all these facilities that they have, and they're shaking hands with these people. That just felt shitty as hell. It's just like the hypocrisy is all over the place, and it's sad to see. But again, this is the present and the future of football. Get used to it. If you don't want to get used to it, get involved. And I'm talking to myself as well. There are plenty of organizations that work towards changing things in the world of football, one of which is from our friend Paul Watson that we interviewed last year. And there are plenty of associations that are working to prevent this from happening, to kind of change the state of football. Let's get involved, all of us. Let's not get indignated if Newcastle fans are celebrating.
No, exactly. And just to shout out, Paul Watson is the Society for the Protection of Footballers. It's to stop human trafficking within football and fake agents taking players from Africa, from Asia, and promising them the world and then taking their passports away. So it's a really great organization and charity that he's trying to set up. I think it's something that we're going to try and work with them in the future, hopefully. But yeah, I think we just need to check our hypocrisy, basically, and look, let's go back to football. For Newcastle, this is incredibly exciting. They are going to have the club transformed, hopefully, and the team will be able to be competitive again. It is hard to get excited about it after we've just talked about everything we've talked about, but we've been talking about it for years with City and Chelsea. Look, I'm talking in circles now. We can move on. Within the Premier League, what else is there to talk about, Tommy?
So for the Premier League, you will never believe it, Rory, but we're running a little bit late. So let's do this. I'm going to give you 8 to 10 minutes to review the Premier League so far. We're roughly 1/5 through the season, and then we're going to do the same thing about Serie A. Ready, set, go. So Premier League, it's time for it.
Okay, so sorry, listeners, you can cut that out. The Premier League
I'm not going to cut that out now.
Looks like this, so professional. We have Chelsea first on 16 points, Liverpool in second on 15 points, City on third on 14 points, United fourth, 14 points, Brighton in sixth on 14 points, well in the title challenge. So it's all looking quite tight at the top. Obviously, it's still early days. We're only 7 games in. Now, I'm going to call it and say the title race, despite Man United being on level points, I think the title race is between 3 teams, and they are Chelsea, Liverpool, and City. Having watched Liverpool and City last weekend, I think it's between Liverpool and City. I know I predicted Chelsea for 2 years in a row to win the league, and I know I'm probably going to get it wrong again, but I think City and Liverpool, watching them two play, they are by far the 2 best teams in the league, I think. And they've both had incredible starts to the season. I think the Liverpool City fixture is really interesting because people talk about like the rivalry between United and Arsenal in the 90s, 2000s as like the greatest rivalry in Premier League history. And I would agree with that. But I think maybe these Liverpool City games over the last couple of years have been the highest quality games we've had in the Premier League. Like in terms of like just the level of football played, the competitiveness, the amount of goals, like how close they are. I feel like they're possibly the highest quality games we've had in the Premier League, full stop. I think really, really this rivalry isn't like as heated as United Arsenal, but competitively it's a very, very good rivalry. So I think it's going to be a great title race, and Chelsea definitely aren't out of it either. But
point taken, and there was a great commentary from an Italian commentator after the latest Liverpool City game. He said, "Mamma mia, quanto calcio in questa partita," which was beautiful. It means, mamma mia, so much football in this game. And if you look at the goals, it ended 2-2. It was a super even game. I really, really appreciated it. It's just like football back and forth, all over the pitch. Incredible players. Mohamed Salah keeps delivering. I think, which is kind of unthinkable, but Mohamed Salah gets less credit than he deserves sometimes. Does he?
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I think because he's not a striker and he's not a winger, people don't class him as a striker, but his numbers are like up there. So this season he has 9 games, 9 goals, and 3 assists in all competitions. Now, obviously, players like Lewandowski kind of are better than that at the moment. But I think Salah, in terms of like Premier League greats, people don't include him in that yet. And I think he's definitely in the conversation, if not definitely a Premier League great. I think you're right. He is slightly underrated. And I think so far he has easily been the Premier League player of the season so far. And it looks like he's going to carry on to have an unbelievable season. The goal against City was absolutely incredible. And yeah, just what a player. I think you're right. He gets underrated, weirdly. He gets weirdly underrated.
And I think, I don't know if you have anything to talk about between Liverpool and Man City and the 6th position, but this is the team that is exciting me the most in the Premier League this season. It's Brighton and Hove Albion. Oh. And I had said it, that they would be the surprise package of the season. They would be the overachievers of the season, I think I said.
Honestly, I'm going to give you your props, Tommy. You've absolutely nailed it. But I think they're not overachieving. They are achieving. Last season, their XG, as we all know, was fantastic, but their G wasn't. And this season, they just seem to be hitting it. And I think, obviously, Arsenal played Brighton last weekend, and Christ, they are a very, very good team, Brighton. They're just a very good team. They just play beautiful football. I know Arsenal aren't great, but they played us off the park. That Cucurella, I'd never fucking heard of him. The guy's an absolute fucking monster. The guy was ridiculous.
I remember the guy because he played against Inter in the Europa League when we had that incredible run 2 years ago. And again, Seagulls Social on Instagram. I follow them. They have the best memes. They talk about Brighton and Hove Albion, of course. Yeah. And they were hyping Cucurella so much that I had to look up his stats and actually see some of the highlights. And it feels like it could be one of the best signings of the season in the Premier League. It's really turned the team around.
Honestly, so like Tomiyasu, who has come in and done really well for Arsenal and kind of had incredible stats since he came in, could not get hold of him at all. Cucurella was just leaving him for dead every time. I was like, my God, who is this guy? Incredible player. I think Brighton have been definitely the best kind of the surprise package, like you said, so far. So they're in 6th and not showing any signs of stopping. I think Tottenham are really, really going to regret not pushing for Graham Potter harder this summer because he is going to get snapped up by another club pretty bloody quick, I think.
So I'm going to bring it up again. I still think that Thomas Tuchel kind of looks like Keira Knightley. And I think that Cucurella has a resemblance with few people. Well, it's mainly because of the hair. Slash from Guns N' Roses. Okay. Then we've got the singer from Nickelback. He feels like a guitar player.
Kroger? Was that his name? I can't remember.
Oh, I have no idea. Just like the dude from Nickelback who kind of tried to look like Kurt Cobain. I guess I go with that one.
Yeah, they tried really hard.
But he does. I really appreciate when a football player really doesn't care and just like lets his hair grow like back in the day. Love the curls.
I got massive. Do you remember Juan Pablo Sorin? Do you remember him for Argentina?
Yeah.
Massive vibes of that guy. But again, that is just purely based on the hair. But before we leave the Premier League, I'm going to go for my biggest disappointment or who's had the worst start of the season so far. And I think people aren't talking about Leicester enough.
True.
They are not talking about how bad their start to the season has been. They are in 13th. They've won 2, drawn 2, and lost 3. Now, the only games I could see that were against sides that maybe you'd expect them to lose against were City, which they lost, and West Ham. Now, in Leicester, if you saw Leicester versus West Ham, you'd be like, oh, it's going to be a close game. I'm not sure who's going to call it. I'm not sure who's going to win it. So that's kind of a difficult one. But they've had a really disappointing start to the season. Their Europa League campaign really isn't going well. So I feel like people aren't really talking about how bad a start it's been for Leicester. But now we're talking about it. Guys, they've had a terrible start.
And there are rumors, I heard, of Brendan Rodgers maybe being Barcelona's next manager.
Oh, I honestly feel like Barcelona have just got a huge, like the Wheel of Fortune, and they're just like, okay, what name is it this week? We've got Andrea Pirlo. Hey, it'll be a week before it's like, I don't know, fucking Cruyff. Oh, no, wait, not him. He's gone. Right, next one. Come on, spin it again.
Well, in the Totally Football show, they were suggesting De Boer to be appointed.
Can you imagine? Oh, God, yes, please. Yes, please. Can we get De Boer at Barcelona? Honestly, there's a major part of me really. I'm sorry, Barcelona fans. There are genuine Barcelona fans out there. There must be. Not just people from like the other side of the planet who support them. But I think as an Arsenal fan, I'm really fucking enjoying this Barcelona meltdown. I really am enjoying it. They fucked us over so many times. I really am enjoying it. Really.
Guys, this summer, I don't know if I ever said this on the pod, but this summer I drove all the way to southern Spain. And on the way back, I stopped in Barcelona. One of my best friends lives there. And I drove by the Camp Nou. Number one, I was very unimpressed. I was not impressed by the structure at all. And my first reaction was to flip my middle finger, thinking of the first, like I look at the Barcelona stadium, I do not think of Messi. I think immediately of Sergio Busquets in the 2010 Champions League semifinal, getting Thiago Motta sent off and then peeking through his hand while he was diving on the ground to see if the referee had given him a yellow card and smiling. And I have look, Barcelona have played some of the most amazing football I've ever watched in my life. I loved watching that inevitable Barcelona years when we're just like, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to enjoy this because it's going to be football at its highest level, but I do not like the club. I do not like the ownership. And to be fair, I'm not a big fan of Catalan people. And if there are any Catalans listening...
Christ, we're upset. Tommy, we're upsetting everyone. The Swiss and now the Catalans. What are you doing?
Let's go. Let's upset. Look, dude, what do they say about publicity? There is no bad publicity.
All publicity is good publicity. Yeah, exactly. If we're going to do painful Barcelona memories, I'm going to quickly go 2006 Champions League final. Both goals were offside and the referee fucked us. And then sending Van Persie off for that, kicking a ball when he didn't hear the whistle, got us knocked out of the Champions League. Fuck Barcelona. They have shafted us so many times.
Oh my God, we're going hard in this episode.
I really don't like him.
Very quickly, let's go to Serie A. And again, we are 1/5 through the season, and Napoli are leading the table with 0 draws and 0 losses. Now, guys, I'm asking for your help because I cannot seem to find the stat of the team that has won the most consecutive Serie A games at the beginning of the season. At first, I believed it was 6. Then it came up, it was 7. And now I just found out that it's 10. It's Rudy Garcia's Roma in 2015-2016.
I remember that team. Oh, shit. Yeah.
I think it was 2015-2016. Roma had the 10 consecutive wins, and Juventus had the less points that they have now after 7 games. But Juventus ended up winning the Super Cup.
I remember Roma bottling that season so hard. That was brutal. That was so brutal.
And guess what happened that season? That was the season that after the fantasy football auction, I traded Pjanic for I don't know who. I don't even remember who. Oh, it was Allan from Napoli. Great player, but 0 goals. And Pjanic went on a streak of 7 goals in 10 games. I think he was on double digits goals at the end of the first half of the season. But going back to us, this Napoli team is looking very, very good. The latest game was against the Fiorentina, and once again this season they managed to come back. They have slipped in the Europa League already, but they haven't slipped in Serie A, and it's just because their backbone is so good. They've got Koulibaly at center back, who is back to being the Koulibaly that he once was. Yeah. We've got Zambo Anguissa, possibly the best signing I've seen this season in Serie A. This guy they had Bakayoko first, they got rid of him. He came back to AC Milan, and Zambo Anguissa is like the upgrade.
Regular listeners will know we are big fans of this guy. We are going to be repping him hard most of the season, I think.
And I really didn't know about his career, but then I looked it up. He's been playing professional football at very high levels for the past 4 years of his life, despite a pretty young age. And then Osimhen up front. Again, I'm going to say, not because I have him in fantasy football and I'm absolutely loving it, but if you are just looking at the scoreline for Napoli, there is one thing you're missing: all the chances that Osimhen is missing. Now, not because he's a bad player.
He's not clinical, is he? He's not clinical.
He's not, exactly. He's not the most clinical player. If he can get that fixed, he's set to be Serie A's top goal scorer this season. I don't know if you saw it, that chance that he had against Fiorentina and they tried a bicycle kick.
The overhead kick.
Oh, man. And that would have been an incredible goal because he had no right to try that. He could have stopped the ball, turned around and shot. He just went towards the ball and kind of floated midair, tried that shot, didn't go in. If it had, it would have been an incredible goal.
But this is all credit to how many chances Napoli are creating. They are creating so many chances. They're still beating teams 4-0.
And I was thinking,
and he's missing chances.
Me, alongside many people, we were thinking that Lazio would be that team this year, being coached by Sarri. We're going to talk about Lazio later, but Spalletti is putting in this place in great, great football. But what is Napoli's biggest weakness? Napoli's biggest weakness is a continental competition called the Africa Cup of Nations. Because if you were listening, you realized that their backbone is composed by 3 key players that are going to be key players in the AFCON. So Koulibaly for Senegal, Zambo Anguissa for Cameroon, and finally Osimhen for Nigeria. So that competition that we're going to cover, we're going to turn into an AFCON pod for that time.
We are. I'm excited.
Leaving Serie A and Premier League to the side for 1 month. It's going to last almost a month. And what if Senegal and Nigeria end up playing the final? They are going to do without Osimhen and Koulibaly for an entire month. So I'm sure that the Napoli fans, Napoli in Italy, they have this reputation for having all these traditions to they can jinx people, they can put curses on people. I'm sure they're going to look at the groups that Cameroon, Nigeria, and Senegal are in and just put a macumba on it and just try to have the other teams win. But Napoli have been super impressive. Nobody has been able to stop them. The upcoming games are against Torino, Roma, and Bologna. Again, it's going to be interesting. Did you see the little skit between Mourinho and Spalletti?
Oh, mate, I loved it. Yeah,
Spallettone, grandissimo. And man, that tells you about Mourinho, how clever of a man he is, how well he knows the culture of a country. That Spallettone, grandissimo, it means the great Spalletti, you are the greatest. And Spalletti's worried. He's just I like this guy, but he's gonna clap at me. And he was what do you want to do? You want to win every single game? I know you're going to lose the next away game because they play in Rome. And Spalletti is just hey, you know that here in Naples people do things, they put curses don't you sing already? And then Mourinho is just I'll see you in Rome, bye. That was great. That was great, but it's not quite time to talk about Roma yet because AC Milan are also undefeated in second place, having won 6 and drawn only 1. Now, the game against Atalanta was a masterpiece of a game, and despite still not thinking that Pioli is that incredible of a manager, what they did was kind of discussed all over the media in Italy because players didn't really have positions in that game for AC Milan. They were playing the type of total football that my dad was talking about to me when I was a kid, about the great Dutch players, the Dutch teams with Cruyff and so on. But you had no point of reference. And that Atalanta, where like after 1 minute, they were already 1 goal down, and they didn't seem to be able to get a hang of the game. They've got a very quick team. That's another thing about AC Milan. And maybe they start their games too quick. We have already covered it. In Serie A, it might work. In the Champions League, you're going to be found.
Well,
open.
even in the Atlanta game, it ended 3-2. Like they very nearly, I think another 10 minutes, it may have been 3-3. It was just that it was very late on. The player that's really impressing me for the moment, and I think people really were slagging him off last season, but I think he's finally got his feet under the table, is Tonali. That guy, the goal was so calm, cool, composed as he just strokes it home. I think he's a player that I'm really glad it's going well for him, because he's a football manager wonder kid, and I've won many things with him with Arsenal, and I really did want him to do well, and it looks like he's starting to become the player that we hoped he would be.
And I also like the fact that he still hasn't got it. I mean, he was in the preparation squad for the Euros, but Mancini really values him, and he's just like, don't come to the big boys team yet. He's the captain of the under-21.
Nice.
In this international break, he's playing for the under-21. It feels like there is also an intention to make him a leader, to make him grow as a leader. He's been showing that at AC Milan. I totally agree with you. I shouldn't have traded him for fucking Godin at centre-back in fantasy.
Why?
Because I need a centre-back. Let's move on. And also, when I bid on Tonali, all the AC Milan fans that we had around us, nobody was bidding on him, and I was like, they might know a thing or two that I don't know about Tonali, but turns out this was his breakaway season. And then, man, I don't know, like the Tomori-Kjaer defensive partnership is incredibly solid. AC Milan have conceded very few goals, only 5 goals against, and they're the second best defense after Napoli, who are sitting, of course, first. Another player that has really impressed me is Brahim Diaz, and also Leao, who has these sparks of greatness, and if he only could be more consistent, I think is a name that is going to be big in Serie A. Third is Inter. Now, Inter also undefeated, the third and the last undefeated team in Serie A with 5 wins and 2 draws. They are very square. There are not many great surprises in the lineup. What are the positives? We are the best attack in the league by 4 goals. We score more than 3 goals per game, which is great. Skriniar is really stepping up as the defense's leader. Barella keeps growing day after day. Vision, crosses, assists, shots, goals. He can do it all. Brozovic has grown to be an irreplaceable player that I don't see many around, like the things that they do. He's got the defensive mindset, I would say, of Zambanguissa, for example, but then he's got the creativity of a Tonali sometimes. So he's really irreplaceable. Dzeko has scored 6 goals in 7 games. Together with Lautaro, they've scored 11 goals, and it's the second most prolific striking partnership across Europe this season. The first one is Lewandowski-Kimmich, which sounds funny because Kimmich is not a forward. So they simply needed a name to put
I think that's
Lewandowski.
Just Lewandowski and another. Let's just chuck anyone in.
And another player. Dumfries and Di Marco need a bit more time to adjust, but they bring the grit that you need in the wings in a 3-5-2 lineup. Without Lukaku, we are slightly more fluid and creative. However, there are also the negatives. 1 clean sheet thus far in Serie A. That is not good enough. Often we go down, and that is not good because I don't like going down. Andanovic, with all due respect, and again, I can have an episode only about the reasons why I have the utmost respect for this football player. But it comes a moment when you have to analyze the facts, and he cannot guarantee continuity against the Sassuolo. He had a few incredible saves. But that doesn't make me forget all the times he's not dived this season, and he's tried to stop the ball with his laser fucking vision.
Wait until January. January, you get a new keeper. I
think we will get like a tappabuchi, we call it in Italian, just like something to cover the holes that you've got in the wall. Correa hasn't quite found his position yet after the first game where he scored a brace. And Inzaghi, despite learning from his mistakes, I think he listens to the pod because he did not sub Lautaro Martinez at the 70th minute against
I
Sassuolo.
noticed that. I was like, oh shit, wait.
Yeah. And another thing that I didn't say on the pod, but I talked about it with Michael. I was like, Di Marco really should shave his head because he's got hair only growing in the front. Next game, Di Marco has got a shaved head.
Tommy getting sway down at Appiano Gentile. Damn it.
The next thing that I needed to address is that Calhanoglu from AC Milan is not quite performing, and the AC Milan fans are giggling. They were just like, we told you, dude.
You know why it's funny? Because you were so loud when he played for 2-3 games really well. So, of course, they're going to be loud now.
Yeah, and I think Eriksen was delivering way more than he was, than he is this season, and that needs to be addressed. And finally, concerning the financial situation, I want to talk about this quickly because I'm not an expert on this, but our balance sheet for the 2020-2021 season was the second worst in Europe after Barcelona's. I'm saying it, you know, at the end of a commercial about the drugs, like drugs that you sell at the pharmacy, it's like, please don't. It's like, so our balance sheet,
operating heavy machinery.
Our balance sheet was the second worst in Europe after Barcelona's. That's not good, and so we need to cut salaries. Who would I cut immediately? Vidal and Sanchez. Sanchez is on 7 million a year. And
man, that guy gets paid wherever he goes. That guy's agent is incredible.
I love Chile. I love Chilean players. I've got a soft spot for you guys, buddy. It's time to pack your bags and leave and go get that money at some other team. Go to Juventus, put some other club in financial distress, but not us.
Well, just very quickly, there was Arsenal fans with a picture of Sanchez going, available on a free. Would you? No, please, no. No. I love you, Sanchez, but don't come back.
You ask for too much money. Yeah. Then we've got in 4th place, Roma, 5th, Fiorentina, 6th, Lazio, 7th, Juventus, and 8th, Atalanta. Very quickly, because we don't have much time, Roma have been an impressive team, but also very unlucky. They have hit the woodwork 6 times in 7 games. There was a very fun post on Twitter by Abraham who said, can anybody get rigged of posts and crossbars, because he hit 2 consecutive ones in 1 game. But also, this is a fun stat. Since the 2016-2017 season, Roma lead the Serie A in most woodwork hit. So they are first at 109.
That's mad.
Across 5 seasons. That's a lot. Followed by Napoli at 106. And I know that Napoli fans are thinking of that season that they didn't win the league by 1 point. Third, but that's a big drop from 106 to 90 is Juventus. Roma, I will choose 1 point for each team that I'm going to talk about now. Roma, Pellegrini. Man, what a player. He's a forward, he's a midfielder, he's a defender. He crosses in the box and his delivery is great. He can finish. He scored an incredible backheel goal against Verona.
He's tricky. Like, he can dribble like you wouldn't believe. Like, yeah, what a player. And I feel like he's really, under Mourinho, he's flourishing a little bit. Maybe his fitness is better as well. I feel like he's a player who's had a lot of injuries in the past, right?
And the other thing that I need to highlight, but Roma, the fans, the players, everybody has bought in fully the Mourinho mentality. They love him over there, and that's delivering. But at the same time, you see that they get 1 too many yellow and red cards, and that's the Mourinho is a double-edged sword. He brings you grit, but also brings you players that want to kill their opponents and the referee most of the times. Fiorentina in 5th position, very impressive season so far. 4 wins, 3 losses. They seem not to be able to draw games. They had very nice transfers this season. Their manager is turning things around, but now the news is that Vlahovic is not going to renew his contract, and the Sharks are starting to pack around Firenze.
This is, I think, where it might start to go wrong for Fiorentina. I think he's going to be booed at the stadium every time he plays now. I think the Fiorentina fans might make their feelings well known. They've been known to do the same in the past. I think they're definitely a passionate set of supporters. So I think maybe this could be where it seems to me weird timing to announce such news. Maybe just, I don't know. You can't wait until the end of the season, but it seems like a weird time for the news to come out.
It's bad timing, and it's a bad situation for Fiorentina because they cannot sell him for the right price, because any team would just wait 1 more year to sign him on a free. So basically, they're going to let him go for 30 million, and if they're lucky, and he's going to be
at Arsenal. Make a bid at Arsenal, please.
And finally, in 6th, 7th, and 8th position, we've got Lazio, Juventus, and Atalanta with an identical record: 3 wins, 2 draws, and 2 losses. Which of these 3 teams is not going to be there much longer? Juventus, they're starting to picking up form. I don't like that, but it's just happening. And we know that Allegri is an experienced manager. He was off the job for 2 years. I think they're going to come up. Lazio, they've been a little messy. And the last game, they lost 3-0 against Bologna. After you win
they
were
an absolute shambles. I sat and watched that game. I was like, what is happening? Like, Bologna were good. Barrow scored a fucking beautiful goal. But Lazio were absolutely all over the place. I couldn't believe it.
It was very bad. It feels like they didn't have great summer transfers. We know that their president, Lotito, is also nicknamed Lotirchio, Lo Stingy, because he is very stingy. But then, like the Leicester of Italy, I would say, Atalanta. Is the magic over? Back in the day, until last year, they were always scoring so many goals. This year, Inter are leading in goals. Atalanta have only scored 10 across 7 games and conceded 9. They're on +1 goal difference. They have plenty of heavy injuries. Muriel, who is now back, and then the big wings, Gosens and Atebur, whom have been brilliantly replaced by Zappacosta and Mele. But especially in defense, they don't seem that solid. Gasperini had the wrong subs against AC Milan. Atalanta fans were all over social media to kind of say this was all Gasperini's fault. It kind of feels like the magic might be over, but we're not counting them out yet. One thing that I like is that the top 8 in Italy feels like a top 8.
It is the big ones, right? It's the big ones.
And Atalanta, to all of you bandwagoners who discovered about Atalanta last year, I'm sorry, but I fucking hate Atalanta, and I'm glad to see that they're dropping after. Yeah, it was beautiful to see them in the Champions League and everything. Oh my God, they scored so many beautiful goals. Time to suck, baby. You're back. But I don't think it's going to last long. I think they're going to make it a top 5, possibly, towards the end of the season. Also, very smart by Gasperini to say in the press conference before AC Milan, oh, why are you putting us on the same level as Inter, Juventus, and Milan? We compete with teams like Torino and Udinese. Yeah, Gasperini.
Very clever.
I know what you're doing there. One final thing that I wanted to address, Rory, the video was all over social media. It's a video from a few games ago when Fiorentina played Atalanta in Bergamo. A journalist is trying to interview a very young, bright star of international football who goes by the name of Dusan Vlahovic. But the interview cannot quite go through because the Atalanta fans are booing him and singing "Sei uno zingaro," etc., which means you are a gypsy. Now, I'm saying this for people who are not from Europe that are listening to us. We kind of agreed with Rory that gypsy is the racial slur that is the least addressed in any occasion in Europe. It feels like it's something that can be said. Gypsy people are a community of people that are mainly known for bad things, but there are a lot of stereotypes around them. But the thing here is that simply because Vlahovic comes from Serbia, he's labeled as a gypsy. Namely, this thing happened a lot with Ibrahimovic, who didn't seem to give a fuck, but that's because it's Ibrahimovic. It's not because it's not a racial slur. This time, it really, really hit me because you see a young guy who just wants to have an interview. He's played a football game, and he kind of looks around and he's not happy. And you see that the journalist doesn't even address the thing. It's just like, no, please stay here. I have to ask you questions. So if we're fighting against racism, we need to fight against these two. Racism is against multiple categories of people. In Europe, we've got the gypsy issue, which has been an issue for a very long time. And it's kind of sad to see that this happens and there are no consequences. If there are consequences for racial slurs against black people, as we are seeing that there have been, the latest one was against Koulibaly. The supporter from Fiorentina has been identified and banned from the stadium. Do the same thing for when they use the term zingaro, because it's not fun.
No, well, exactly. You're right, and I think the video is really, you can see it visibly upsetting him. Like he's trying to like not react, and yeah, you're right. Again, the fact that the journalist just tries to push on and doesn't even reference it, it's like it's not acknowledged. I think we kind of off like
Mike,
that's the one. We were trying to talk about how we would approach it, and I think like, if in public you said a racial slur about a black person, about an Asian person, people would address it much more quickly and rightly.
True.
But it's much more accepted for people to be discriminatory towards gypsies. It's just more accepted. And I think this is a thing that, you're right, across Europe is kind of a problem. But yeah, I'm just agreeing with what you said. The action needs to be even across all forms of racism, and this is one that needs to be addressed more.
And also recently, I was talking about it with Rory last night. I was talking about this Italian historian named Alessandro Barbero, who has an incredible podcast, which is #1 in Italy, which is kind of funny because Italians don't care that much about culture. But this guy tells stories so well that everybody listens to him. Mm-hmm. And in one snippet of one of his talks, he said, I really need to do a talk about gypsy culture in general, because it's super interesting. And if you think about it, there are gypsies in Ireland, there are gypsies in Romania, there are gypsies, like native Italian gypsies. So it's like something very interesting that definitely deserves more attention. Rory, we're running very late. Let's jump to the weekly topic. I've got 3 youngsters that you all should keep an eye on.
And here we are for the weekly topic. So a few weeks ago, I can't remember how many, we did 3 players in the Premier League that we are excited about and to keep an eye out on. Just to give myself a quick pat on the back, as I often do, Michael Olise, who I did talk about, got his first goal for Crystal Palace last weekend. So turns out I was absolutely spot on. But now it is Tommy's turn to take us through 3 exciting Serie A players, and by coincidence, all Italian, that we should be looking out for in Serie A.
All right, look, as I was doing it, I was doing my extensive research. I was looking at the highlights of the games. I was looking at the stats. And then when I was doing the stats for the last one, I was like, was it players from Serie A or Italian players in Serie A? And then I was like, there is no way that Rory said, we're going to do a special about English players in the Premier League.
No, but thinking, I think all mine were English.
No, Billy Gilmour is Scottish, because that's what came to mind. Because that's what came. Well, you kept it very British still, but that's what came to mind. I was like, oh fuck, Billy Gilmour. I was like, all right, whatever. I will sound like a nationalist, but whatever. Only for today. All right. 3 players, Rory. They play in 3 different positions, and they play in 3 different teams. They are all Italian. We're going to start from the oldest one of them, who goes by the great name of Tommaso Pobega. Tommaso Pobega, 22 years old. He plays for Torino as a center midfielder, and he's an AC Milan youth product, currently on loan with the Granata. So he started in 2019-2020 with Pordenone in Serie B, where across 31 games he scored 5 goals and got 4 assists. And last year, he was purchased by Spezia, where he spent an entire season, played 20 games, and scored 6 goals and 3 assists. Now, imagine growing up as an Italian football player, and you watch, of course, the 2006 World Cup, you watch the highlights and everything. Gianluigi Buffon is simply an idol. And imagine scoring your first Serie A goal against Gigi Buffon. Well, that's what happened to Tommaso Pobega. His Instagram post was great. He just said, I have no words. And I think they lost that game, but I remember that post. Said, I have no words. Imagine, really, you see Gigi Buffon lifting the World Cup, and like 10 years later, you score against him. That was great. He also, this season, he plays for Torino. Torino, whom are doing pretty well this season under Juric. And across 5 games, he's managed already to score 1 goal. How did I discover this player? It was actually through my friend Michael, who really pushed to purchase him last year in fantasy football, and he delivered with those 6 goals. Now, what about his technical characteristics? By the way, he also got 6 caps and 3 goals for the Italy under-21 team.
Wow, that's a decent return.
Oh, man. Yes, it is. 3 goals in 3 games, like in 6 games, 0.5 per game. Pretty good stat.
Yeah.
Now, this player is a particular one because he's very strong physically. He's 1 meter and 88. But he's not clumsy like you might think. Actually, he is very, very good. Number one, as a defensive mid, loves to slide in, break the play, but he also doesn't mind a long distance shot. And also, he really likes to, kind of distribute the ball and then kind of follow the play. And then when you expect it the least, he's going to be in the opposition's box, ready to tap it in. He's averaging 1 shot per game this year in Serie A, which is not bad. And he's also got, and here I go back to the fact that he's not clumsy at all, he's got a very, very good first touch. He's solid, he's effective. Maybe he's not, like, if you're looking for flair, this is not the player for you. But I know that, Roy, you've been talking for a long time about the fact that Arsenal would need a solid defensive center mid. And I think this is the type of player that you might be looking for. Again, I think that Serie A should be just a supermarket for Premier League where there are so much money. And in Serie A, we've got so much talent that you can get for so cheap.
I would quite like that. I feel like Arsenal have barely had any Italian players in their history, so I'd quite like to turn that around. I think we've only had Arturo Lupoli is one that stands out, and he never played. And
that's it.
I'm not sure. We don't really have a great history of Italian players. Yeah.
But one thing that I read, and here Manchester United listeners are really going to say, what the fuck is he talking about? Isn't he supposed to be a great player? Well, some people say that he reminds them of Matic.
Matic at Chelsea, not Matic at United.
Yeah,
right?
I think, and I was watching a highlight reel on YouTube. He looks like a way more mobile version of Nemanja Matic.
Right.
But he is that kind of player. Tall, strong. One other thing that I really appreciated him, there is no way for a player that he's marking to get him off his back. Like, he cannot be shouldered off. He's so big. It really feels like, when I'm playing five-a-side soccer, like those guys that are constantly around you, like that type of annoying defensive midfielder. That's Tommaso Pobega for Torino. Rory, have you had a chance to see him play for Torino this season or last year for Spezia?
I think I have this year. I've been watching DAZN a little bit more. He's definitely a player that stood out. And to be honest, I kind of watched him since, because you've talked about him before. A player that really has impressed me. I think maybe I did see him at Spezia last season as well. But yeah, I think a player that a lot of people are talking about and does have a bright future in Serie A, hopefully. And as you said, he's at a Torino side that are on the way up under Juric. So it could be a good place for him to develop.
Beautiful to see. The second player that I'm going to talk about has a super cool name. He goes by the name of...
And I got him in fantasy, but I'm not sure how to use him.
Oh, you've got him in fantasy?
Yeah,
he's not quite a starter yet. He goes by the name
it's difficult. It's difficult.
Destiny Udogie, whom I was glad to find out is Italian. He was born in Italy. I didn't know that. I thought he was born in Nigeria, but he was born in Italy. He plays. He's a regular in the Italian national team system. However, he's only 18 years old. Thus, he only has 2 caps for the national team. So he was born in Verona. He's 18 years old. He's a Hellas Verona youth product, currently on loan to Udinese. He debuted in Serie A with the Scaligeri last year. He played only 6 games, however, and this year he moved to Udinese. He's played, officially 5 games, but he was subbed in for 1 minute in one of them. So he's officially played 4 games for Udinese. He's not quite a starter yet because Udinese play with a 3-5-2 or 3-5-1-1. And on that same position of the pitch, they've got a very experienced player in Stiger Larsen. If you play Fantacalcio in Italy, he had an incredible season a few years ago. So it feels like he's being given chances, but Stiger Larsen is still the first option. Why am I talking about this guy? Because I remember him playing against Inter Milan last year when he was at Verona. And I remember being like, who the fuck is that annoying guy? And then you go look it up, and he's 17 years old. Now, he's a left back. Yeah, well, right now he's 18. He's a left back, and he's extremely versatile. In fact, he can play as a center back in a 3-man defense, as a left wing in a 5-man midfield like Udinese's, or as a left back in a 4-man defense. Another strong dude, 1.87 meters, very aggressive, loves a tackle. But the thing that he loves the most is shouldering off forwards. Now, the 2 highlight videos that I found on YouTube, it's just him shouldering people and getting away with the ball. It's just fucking great. I don't know. I really like to see that determination at that young age. He's also very, very aggressive. And I've already said that. Good at intercepting the ball and not letting his man breathe, much like Tommaso Pobega. But my favorite quality of his is that being a left back in the modern game mostly means attacking a lot, while he seems to be very keen on defending.
Nice.
Again, there are many highlights of him attacking on the pitch, but as well many as a defender. It depends in which lineup he plays, but the fact that he's very versatile, that he's already getting experience with Verona, now Udinese, sometimes as a starter, I really think this is a bit of a betting, this is a bit of a gamble that I picked. But I think he could be a name that you'll hear more of, not only this season, but also in the future, and hopefully in the future of the Italian national team. How did you find out about him? Why did you get him in?
I was doing a little bit of research for Fante Calcio, and he was somewhere on one of the sites. They said he's a player that could have a really breakthrough season. I watched a few videos of him, and I thought, you know what? No one else is going to be aware of him. I think I'm going to just take a punt. He's going to cost me 1 million, and I'll just see what happens. He's now sat on my bench, and every week I look at him. And I'm like, "There's a plan for you. There is. I'm going to use you at some point, and it's going to be great. I just need to think about how and when."
Look, just the chance to be playing for a Rory Criscuolo's side, I'm sure that he's learning a lot. Even sitting on the bench, like I'm sure he does the training with you week in and week out. He can see from more experienced players on the pitch.
Thankfully, he's patient. He's patient. He knows that, I've got Inter's wing backs. He has to be patient, but he will get his chance and he will get me the points.
Destiny.
It's his destiny. Sorry, that joke. I just couldn't resist.
Yeah. It's wow, I didn't get it. It's his destiny.
Don't highlight it.
All right. Nothing as beautiful as somebody explaining a joke to you. That's what I just did. And finally, the third name that I bring to your attention is a name that you might have already heard of, because last year, and again, I'm not good at economics, but Juventus purchased this player for 38 million euros. But wait a second. That number
in 2070, right?
No,
and it'll
but
be 1 million.
That number didn't make any sense. It was just because of some former deals that they had with Genoa, and they had to make their balance sheet look a certain way, and so that was the price. For a
Serie A is so messy.
Oh, I know. For a 19-year-old center mid who goes by the name of Nicolò Rovella. You've heard of him, right? Yeah? No?
No, genuinely, I don't think I have. I genuinely don't think I have.
I'm excited to tell you about him. So he was born in Segrate, which is actually very close to where I went to school, just outside of Milan. He's 19 years old. He's already got 7 appearances for the Italy Under-21 squad. He's a youth product coming from Genoa, but now he's on loan from Juventus to Genoa. And since 2019, he has collected 29 appearances for Genoa in Serie A. He's yet to score his first goal, but he has provided 2 assists last year and 2 again this year in the current season. And this season, he has played every single game, which means that after a bit of rodaggio, we say in Italian, after a bit of trial, you play this game, you sit the next one, you get in the last 20 minutes, he's become a regular for Genoa, which, oldest club in Italian football, 19 years old. Well, they're not the same that they used to be, but it's still a big historical club, and I think that.
And he gets to play with Mattia Destro. Don't forget.
He gets to play with Mattia Destro. If only we could play a football game with Mattia Destro, right? I think he actually
one day.
I think that one of his assists was actually for Destro this season. I would have to go. And
see,
check.
even he's getting in on the campaign to get into the World Cup. He's in the campaign. He's helping us.
And look, I kind of think it's pretty funny how we like the different types of players that we picked. Rory loves flair, and I feel like all of your three players were kind of flary.
I was about to say the very same thing, honestly.
And I'm more into effectiveness. And the first two players that I named are very effective players, but maybe not super exciting. Now, if you're looking for flair, this is as far as I can go for you guys. Nicolò Rovella. He's very skillful and technically gifted. He's no Ronaldinho, but he has a great vision and composure on the ball. Great first touch. And one thing that I kind of appreciated about him in his highlight videos, there are a few times where he dribbles past players by like chipping the ball over them. Oh. You don't see it that much.
That's pretty baller.
Yeah,
that's not bad.
It's just like, there is this player like in front of him trying to understand where he's gonna go, and then he just like chips him and like runs to his side. That I really appreciated. He's also a pretty tall guy for being a sort of playmaker. He's 1.80 m. And for his height, that's the thing that strikes you the most, that he's got quite a bit of flair for his height. Mm-hmm. Very good also at winning the ball back with headers. Doesn't mind to take a shot, and he loves to dribble past the player. I've noticed it too when Inter played Genoa in the first game of the season, which we won 4-0, our only clean sheet. He also recovers back in defense. So he's one of those players that really like floats around the middle of the pitch, kind of like sets up the play defensively, then goes to offense and kind of helps distribute and create chances. This is definitely one of the most looked at Italian talents in his generation right now. But yeah, so it goes. Tommaso Pobega, Destiny Udogie, I hope I pronounced it right, and Nicolò Rovella are my three picks. Probably there are a lot of talented foreigners as well as in Italy, but being a nationalist,
but we don't care about them.
I don't care about them. I'm only about the tricolore. I'm only about the future Azzurri stars.
Well, I do have a video of Tommy screaming the Italian national anthem before a Euros game that could now look quite incriminating, I'll be honest. Just don't ever post that video. I was drunk I remember when Shaw scored the goal. I was already pretty tipsy, so I don't want to. And again, the national anthem and any nationalist pride, that's really not me. I mean, like, mate, no, mate. But and it's something that's discussed.
But the national anthem gets me during a football game.
You have the best. You have the best national anthem. Congratulations, you win. I honestly find myself around work humming like. And I'm like, Christ alive, I would never do this with God Save the Queen. Like, ever.
It's a good national anthem. And one thing, it's not absolutely related, but I just wanted to shout out at Luis Enrique, who is just the biggest gentleman in world football, I feel like. Or at least he's towards Italy. So he used to coach Roma. He's also played in Italy. I believe he's played in Italy for maybe a few years, but I don't know. He speaks very good.
Roma, no? Or am I thinking Pep? I can't remember.
That's Pep. Then he played at Brescia. Well, but Luis Enrique always has the nicest words for Italy. He was interviewed about some ignorance booing the Spanish national anthem last night at the San Siro, and he said, "Look, stupid people are always going to go there, are always going to be there." He was like, on the other hand, I think that you should highlight players like Bonucci and a few others, like looking at the supporters and telling them to shut up. He was like, that really shows the respect that there is between Italy and Spain. And then he said, at the Euros, he said that if he had, well, I guess he's a very big gentleman towards Italy only. He said that if he could have picked a team to go out against at the Euros, it would have been Italy. And then he said that he loves pizza and pasta. He just said that he loves playing in Italy, that last night Italy played great, and that it's an honor to defeat them, and that he hopes there will be many more matches between Italy and Spain because they're always entertaining and a pleasure to manage. So I felt like that was absolutely classy from Mr. Luis Enrique.
Pizza and pasta are great. It's hard to argue with that. It really is hard to argue with.
Oh, one time a girl that I was going out with, she's Turkish, and she said it's tough to be Turkish because people, when you say that you're Turkish, they just think of all the ignorant shit that we represent. And then I'm like, but that's the same for Italy. And she cut me off and she was like, no, because you will always have that feeling that you're like very bad at some things but in the end, you're also kind of cute. And I was like, yeah, that's true. That's us. It's just like, no matter how much shit we do on the international stage, racist and stuff and everything, in the end, people are like, but look at them. They're so chatty and they make good pizza and pasta. And
yeah. No, right. You're right.
We are really going up. This has turned into a conversation between me and Rory about any type of bullshit, but it's time for our quiz. Rory, you better be ready. And here we are. It's time for our infamous 1 minute to kick off quiz. Rory, did you enjoy my little breakdown of 3 players to keep an eye on in Serie A?
Yeah, I really, really did. And I think this year, more than ever, Serie A is a league that is definitely worth keeping your eye on in general. I think there was a thing from James Richardson and James Horncastle saying it is the goalsiest league this season, and it was last season as well. So I think it's a league in general that needs to be... We need to put more respect on its name, and hopefully these youngsters are going to help people do that.
Beautiful. But now it's time to focus, Rory. I know you're scared. You were looking at the dog right next to you because you don't want to think about the topic that you picked for this week. Rory, what's the topic?
My chosen topic is the life and times of El Fenomeno.
So here we are. Mr. Rory Criscuolo is about to take on the 1 minute kickoff quiz. Before we start, ladies and gentlemen, we are looking at Rory Criscuolo leading the table with 12 points. Tommaso Adami is trailing with 7. It's time for a new round. Mr. Criscuolo, are you thinking about El Fenomeno? All the way from Brazil, coming to Europe, his career, his trophies, his loves, maybe? Are you thinking about all of this?
All I can think of is him running in a Brazil shirt, and I don't know how much that's going to help me. Unless it's his average speed, which I'm guessing actually wasn't that high. I don't know how much that picture is going to help me so much. But we'll see. I know what clubs he played for. I know a bit about his post-football life. I don't know. We're about to find out exactly how much I know about him, I suppose.
And since I care about my opponent, I would just like the listeners to know that all of these questions are following the chronological order of Ronaldo's career, and you know the lifetime stats, they're all going to be at the end. Mr. Rory Criscuolo, are you ready?
See.
3, 2, 1, go. Which Brazilian club did El Fenomeno debut in as a pro footballer?
Corinthians?
Wrong. In his only season at Barcelona in 96-97, how many goals did he score across 57 games in all competitions?
37.
Wrong. In 1998, he scored a brace for Inter in the UEFA Cup final. This one is easy. Who were the Nerazzurri playing?
You saying it's easy doesn't help. UEFA Cup final. UEFA Cup final. It was against... it wasn't another Italian team. It was against... Oh, fuck. I don't know.
The clock is ticking.
Feyenoord.
Wrong. How many times has Ronaldo won the Serie A Capocannoniere title?
Twice.
Wrong. Ronaldo is one of the 5 players to have scored in a Milan derby, both with AC Milan and Inter Milan. Can you name another one to have done so?
Ibra.
Right. How many Ballon d'Ors has El Fenomeno won?
0.
Wrong. Oh. Where does he rank in the chart of Brazil's all-time top goal scorers?
2nd.
Wrong. And Rory Criscuolo gets only one answer right.
It wasn't even about Ronaldo. That's awful.
Which brings the score to 13-7. Next week is going to be my big opportunity.
I'm bottling it, listeners. I'm bottling it.
You're blowing your lead, dude. All right, let's see. Which Brazilian club did he debut for as a pro footballer? It was Cruzeiro in 1993. 1993, first team he ever played for as a professional footballer. In his only season at Barcelona in 96 and 97, how many goals did he score across 57 games in all competitions?
I said 37. If this is within 1, I want the point, by the way.
It's 54 in 57
games. Right, not even close. Oh, shit.
Yeah, Yeah, that's why it was a lot, and I just wanted to see if he won the top goal scoring title that year. In 1998, he scored a brace for Inter in the UEFA Cup final. Who were the Nerazzurri playing? You said it was an Italian team, and then you went for Feyenoord. Of course,
No, I said it wasn't an
team.
Italian team. I thought Italian teams had never played each other in the UEFA Cup final.
Man, we went through this. They did multiple times. It was against Lazio.
I've had an absolute shocker, but frankly, I've had a shocker.
Okay, how many times has Ronaldo won the Serie A Capocannoniere title? You said 2. And ladies and gentlemen, I love this question because the answer is 0.
See, I knew one of them was going to be a trick question.
It's 0. I was surprised to find out, but this is just a statement to how intense the competition was at the end of the 90s. So in 97-98, when he arrived at Inter Milan, the top goal scorer was Bierhoff for Udinese. Then in 98-99, it was Amoroso again for Udinese. In 1999-2000, it was Shevchenko for AC Milan. And then we know that the last 2 seasons of his career, he didn't play that much at Inter Milan because of the bad injury. In 2000-2001, it was Crespo at Lazio. And in 2001-2002, it was Trezeguet, joint top goal scorer with Serie A legend Dario Ubner. I don't know if you remember this guy.
Oh, I feel like we talked about that on the pod before, maybe.
The name has come up. I don't know that much about him, but he's kind of a legend. He had like this sort of big like biker stash. And,
nice.
He was that kind of character. Then Ronaldo is one of the 5 players to have scored in a Milan derby with both teams. Of course, one of the players to have done so is Zlatan Ibrahimovic. The other one, you could have guessed it, is Giuseppe Meazza, to whom San Siro is dedicated.
Of course.
And then Candiani and Cevenini, whom I don't really know. Yeah. How many Ballon d'Ors has he won? Wow, 0 Ballon d'Ors?
No, I thought, right now, I've been reading a lot about the Ballon d'Or. I've been listening to a few things about the Ballon d'Or, and there was a few years where random people won it, where you're like, how the hell did that happen? And I thought maybe Ronaldo just never got one.
He did.
Now, looking back on it, I can see how foolish I truly was.
What would you say with hindsight?
I don't know. I'm just going to make a dick of myself again. 1.
2 Ballon d'Ors.
For fuck's sake, right.
In 1997 and in 2002. And finally, where does he rank in the chart of Brazil's all-time top goal scorers? You said the 2nd. It's 3rd after Pelé and your favorite player of all time, Neymar.
Fuck, Neymar overtook him, didn't he? Fuck's sake.
Yeah. So Pelé scored 77 in 92 games, Neymar 69 in 113 games, and Ronaldo 62 in 98 games. Neymar is also
I'm disappointed. I am very, very disappointed with myself. I'm going to have a word with myself. Take a look in the mirror.
By the way, so as you will find out, there are not a lot of like extra super cool things about Ronaldo's career besides the fact that he was an absolutely incredible player to watch, one of the very best to have ever blessed the football pitch. But one story that is pretty funny, my friend Michael came over earlier and I was thinking about the questions. If you want to feel better, Rory, not even Michael guessed the team that he debuted for, and he didn't guess the number of Ballon d'Ors. He said 3 instead of 2. But Michael said that a funny story about Ronaldo is that he had a driver, like his personal private driver in Milan. And this private driver was a childhood friend from Brazil. And he wasn't that bad at football. And so he kindly asked the president, Massimo Moratti, to make him sign a tiny little contract, and maybe if he performed during training, he could play a few games. That thing didn't last long. It lasted only a matter of months because apparently it wasn't too good to play football. But that's
I thought that story was going to end up on like, and that man was Kaká. like, whoa, what? Like, how did that happen? Like,
I wish if that man had been Kaká would have played for Inter Milan, but that never happened. Rory, only 1 point. Next week, it's going to be my turn to try and overtake you. I don't think I can get 6, but my topic is going to be... Wait a second. My topic is going to be, I'm thinking about it as I'm saying it, the career...
It's how you always end up getting 1 point. Yeah.
The career of Gianluigi Buffon.
Oof.
Boom. Off we go.
Okay. I like that. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Cool.
We'll see. Ladies and gentlemen, from me, it's everything. I'm going to leave you to Mr. Rory Criscuolo for the final quote of the episode. Of course, remember to follow us on Instagram at Anglo-Italian Pod, on Twitter at Italian Anglopod, and also to check out our sponsor at Sports Club Maps. Also, you can visit their website, www.sportsclubmaps.co.uk. Rory, send off the listeners.
So, as we discussed, Ronaldo was pure poetry on the pitch, but maybe not quite off the pitch. I did find a quote, and the quote from this week from the great man is, "Football is great because you always have another opportunity to change history." Thanks for listening, guys. We will see you next week.